Hello everybody on YouTube. I hope everybody had an awesome new moon ritual if you decided to do anything with the new moon last night. Today is March 9th, 2016, and last night it was not only a new moon, it was a super new moon in Pisces, and at around 8:54 Eastern Standard Time in the US, there was a solar eclipse. Now, of course, the eclipse wasn't visible in that part of the world. I think it was more visible in the Pacific Ocean. But yeah, so eclipse, supermoon, new moon, lots of interesting energies happening last night in Pisces. So last night I decided to take advantage of the new moon by creating a tarot card spread for shadow work. Now, one of my goals for this year is to really hone in my craft and really make it a routine and make it more of a ritualized routine, to where my magical practice becomes a craft, becomes something that I establish a structure, and then I can use that structure to better it, to not perfect it, I don't really like that word, but to use that structure to build the foundations of my craft, and then from there be able to explore. Because I feel like, I'm only about a year and a half in to my craft. I've only been calling myself a witch and really exploring magic overtly or explicitly since October of, 2014? So I'm still kind of a newbie, but I'm really feeling called now at this phase in my practice to build those foundations and that superstructure from which I can deepen my knowledge and deepen my practice and explore new facets of this magical world. So in the spirit of that, I really want a tarot spread. I wanted to create one for myself. Now, I'm not saying like I have the copyright to this specific way of laying down the cards, but at least the meaning that I have attributed to the way that I laid down these cards is very special to me, and I wanted to share it with you guys and see what you think, see if you had any feedback about this tarot spread, a tarot spread geared towards shadow work, because my card for the year 2016 is the devil, and he showed up here. So yeah, I'm just looking to see what you guys think about this shadow work spread, and use it yourself, develop it, tweak it, change it, reject it if you want. It's just, I did my first readings last night with this spread, with both tarot cards and also with the Shaman's Oracle, and it worked wonderfully for both. So I'll show you first in tarot cards what it means. So part of building that structure for my spiritual practice is building repeatable symbols and signs that I can use to like sanctify, magical workings, symbols that I can put, in my books, my journals, and Book of Shadows, or my spell books, symbols that I can use to, just symbols and signs. So I've really been experimenting with the sign of the cross since I was raised Catholic. So it's kind of an interesting symbol to reclaim. And the cross being as above, so below, as before, so after. So I have, this is the basic structure of this shadow work spread. So as above, so below. I've been really meditating and thinking about how the astral self and the shadow self can be just two sides of the same coin. I know in shadow work we often talk about our shadow selves, our subconscious selves, And also in astral work, when we're astral traveling, when we're building our astral altars in our minds and our imaginations, when we're exploring our dreams, exploring the cosmos in our minds, we talk about our astral selves. And I really think the astral self and the shadow work self can just be two manifestations of the same thing. So as above, so below. So this would be my astral self. This will be the position for the card for the shadow work self. So as before, so after. So if this is like the spatial line, this is the temporal line. So as above, so below, as before, so after. So this would be, the past, however you want to work with that or understand that. And this is the future, right? So this central card, and this is actually the card that I pulled for myself this morning. I like to pull one tarot card and one oracle card and use them together to kind of set the mood for the day. And actually, I just got done with an interview for a teaching fellowship that I'm applying for. So it's really, the Page of Pentacles is just really pertinent when it comes to the financial aspect of that teaching fellowship. So it's really, really interesting that I pulled him today, the same day I had my first interview. Anyway, so as above, so below, as before, so after. So this central card in this cross represents or is, the querent, or you, the reader, if you're reading these cards for yourself. It's the time and place where you find yourself right now. It's the present. It's the elusive present, right? So the present moment. Now, these cards here, this would be how I term this is either the intersection or the interaction of the past with the astral self, right? So in the past, how did my astral self, use temperance, or how did the energies of this card make sense when I look back in the past, and how my astral self might have journeyed or voyaged in the astral, or the preoccupations it had in the past, the goals of the past, the problems of the past, right? So this is the intersection of the past with the astral, and this would be the intersection of the future with the astral, right? And so if this is the shadow work card, or the shadow self, the position of the shadow self, this would be the intersection of the past with the shadow self, like what issues maybe with religious authority I might have had in the past, and what impact did that have on my shadow self, right? Keeping in mind that this is a spread specifically for shadow work, although I think it can be adapted and used for other types of readings. So past with shadow self, future with shadow self. So this might be a message for the type of work I should be focusing on, the goals that I want for my shadow self, or that my shadow self wants for me, or how I can, the tools that I would need to get to that future card, of moving beyond, that movement forward of progress that the Six of Swords can mean. So yeah, so this has been a really interesting spread. I'm really enjoying it. As above, so below, astral, shadow, past, future, present moment in time, situation, and then the intersections, the astral with the past, the astral with the future, the shadow self with the past, the shadow self with the future. And from there you can just keep building meaning, you can keep building plans, or, you know, using this spread to help focus your shadow work to see what parts of the shadow self and astral self might need more work, what your goals are, the reasons behind why you're doing shadow work in the first place, which is always good to keep in mind. Yeah, so now let me show you how this this same spread can be used with oracle cards, specifically with the Shaman's Oracle. Okay, and like the tarot spread that I just showed you, I just pulled these cards right now, except for the central card. That actually is the card I pulled for today, for meditation as my kind of daily card practice. So this is the same spread, but with the Shaman's Oracle. And this is the Shaman's Oracle. It is a wonderful oracle deck. I love the aesthetic of it, the primal aesthetic of it, and I love that every single one of these images on the Shaman's Oracle are based on real cave paintings and rock art from around the world, not just in Europe. You know, this includes rock art and cave paintings in South America and Australia and Europe and Africa and Asia. So I really like this global aspect of this deck. It's a really awesome deck. I highly suggest the Shaman's Oracle. Now, the Shaman's Oracle can be kind of tricky because it's kind of hard at first to get a grip of how to actually use the cards, because basically it's separated into 5 what they call tribes, or 5 suits, basically. The suits are spirit, ancestors, shaman, dancer, and hunter. And then on top of that, there are 2 extra cards, this being one of them, and the card I pulled right here being the other one. These don't really belong in any of the 5 suits. These are independent cards, and one is called the Journeyer, which would, you know, symbolize or represent the querent, or, you know, if you're reading these cards for yourself, it's you. And then the Companion. So the Journeyer and the Companion, these 2 cards are separate. They're not part of the 5 tribes. Anyway, check out the deck. The art, you know, being ancient and prehistoric cave paintings and rock art is just fabulous. I love it. Anyway, so as above, so below. So the spirit tribe for me represents the most amplified sense of spirit. So spirit being the elementals. It could be what some people might call angels, or spirits of the earth, or fairies, or astral spirits. So it's actually really great that the spirit of challenge card appeared in the astral self position. So for the shadow self position, we have the dancer of frustration, which is also very poignant. The dancer tribe, or suit, for me, represents manifestation, because if we think of dance, dance is a way for societies to build and create meaning through movement. So dance is a very fiery activity for me, fire being the will and manifestation. But dance is also community, family, the people around us, society, right? Because dance is a social activity. There we go, social activity. So this is my shadow self, the dancer of frustration, right? So what does that mean for my shadow self? To feel frustrated, and maybe this card of manifestation of dancing frustration means I need to take action and maybe incorporate some sense of community or the people around me to express that frustration and move past it. That could be a potential reading. The past card is the journeyer. So that's really interesting. And then the future card is another dance, but it's a dancer of fear. So this might be telling me how this card of frustration this might be a warning of how the frustration I feel in my shadow self might perpetuate fear. So yeah, and then the intersections, the astral with the past is the Hunter of Gifts. The Hunter cards for me means outward journeys, plans, goals, things that we use our will to actively achieve. So, you know, how does this sense of the journeyer and this Hunter of Gifts lead to the spirit of challenge in my astral self in the past? Now, the intersection of the future with the astral is a spirit of nurture. So this might be, you know, if I want to challenge myself and develop my astral self, I also need to make sure to take care of that astral self. And what does that mean? And how would that lead me to be able to avoid fear or use fear as a tool to move beyond fear into something else when I'm doing astral traveling or dream work or connecting with the cosmos, right? And then the intersection of the past with my shadow self, frustration, is the ancestor of exile. The ancestor for me, it's not just the human ancestors, it's our ancestors as life forms on this planet. How we connect to the earth. It's a very earth card to me. So exile. Thinking about me in the past as the journeyer, part of the work of shadow work is letting go. And that process of letting go of whatever, it's very scary, and sometimes you can feel alone, or sometimes you actually have to be alone, right? So this being in the past, that intersection of the past with my shadow work, it makes a lot of sense to me. And then the intersection of shadow work with the future is wisdom. So how can I use that sense of frustration or being stuck and that sense of fear to develop wisdom, right? Wisdom so that I can move beyond fear. And then the central card being the present moment is the Shaman of Purification. And Shaman cards for me in this deck, the Shaman suit is about inward journeys. So if the Hunter is about outward journeys, the Shaman card is about inward journeys. So yeah, I just wanted to show a quick little example of how the shadow work spread can be used not just with tarot cards, but with oracle cards as well. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of this spread, if you have similar spreads or if you have different interpretations for this layout of the cards, or experiment with it, critique it, whatever, you know, comment below and let me know what kind of spreads do you guys use for your shadow work. So yeah, I hope everybody had an awesome new moon last night, setting intentions with the power of the eclipse. And eclipses to me just reaffirm shadow work. So yeah, it was a powerful night last night, and I'm really glad that I was able to develop this spread with a lot of meaning for me in my journey through shadow work. All right, many blessings. Bye.